Hey guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson, episode 3 in our series, Macro Management. And I'm going to skip ahead to fat because we covered calories first, of course, Adam, and then protein. And for me, I like to use fats a little bit algorithmically. This is a place I apply a percentage because I think it gives us a good place, not only based in research, but just practicality. So if you look at some of the research that shows 30, you can even go 33 if you're doing an isocaloric diet, or 35% of calories from fat is kind of a high end. Somebody on a maintenance level of calories to get 30% of your calories from fat is almost work. You have to be having some nut butters and cheese and egg yolks and maybe some red meat and so forth. So when you drop down to 20 or 25% for somebody who's going into a calorie deficit, it really just kind of moves you down to what I would call a quote clean diet. Now all of a sudden you do have to kind of budget fat. You have to avoid that and maybe trim this back a little bit. And then I've also seen people who say, man, I want to have as much carbohydrate as possible so I can get my fat way down here. And I've seen clients at 10 to 15% of their calories from fat. That's just what's in food, but you really can't go any lower than that. So I typically start around that 20 to 25% mark. How would you calculate fat typically?
Yeah, I would definitely say going by percentage is really important. Now, someone with maybe more overall inflammation, I might actually give higher fats to. Let's say they have like some arthritis or something like that. I higher fats is probably going to steer them from more of those inflammatory foods. So that might be where I break the mold on this from an individual standpoint. But I would say very much like you, I do try to keep probably in that 20 to 25% range. Because yeah, at 30, you're just working to add fats into your diet that don't really provide much of a thermic effect. And yeah, cholesterol does influence hormones, but you always have to pull the right club out of the bag at the right time. And I hate to say it, but when we are contest dieting, we're not really looking to achieve the best hormonal profile in the world. We don't want to completely ignore that either, but at this point, we're trying to get lean for stage, so we need to make movement in the areas that's going to provide most benefit for us.
Well, to that point, and just speaking about health, I do know that some clients, if their fat is too low, they'll start seeing it in their skin, their hair. They'll get some, subacute thyroid hormone deficiency symptoms, and I don't mind at all moving it up. But when you talk about having a super high fat diet versus low fat, there are way more studies that show that a high fat diet actually decreases testosterone than improves it. And so, we got to get out of the mindset of those extremes. But as you said, if somebody just prefers a little bit more fat or they feel better with a little bit less carbohydrate, I absolutely give them that preference. That's why I said that's just a nice range between that, 15 and 30% or so. And, maybe starting out in the midline if you're not sure. But I had a vegetarian start this week, and I know protein's going to be a little bit lower. Carbs, maybe about the same, but because a lot of vegetarian foods are higher in fat, you're going to have, some extra nut type products and seeds and so forth that have a little bit more fat. So that's another place, I might go up a little bit in fat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one of the things that I want to do is make sure everybody knows that contrasting fat and carbs is really the right mindset, because you do have those ranges, as I said, where you can be a little bit higher in one or the other based on your preference, based on how you feel. Adam mentioned systemic inflammation can sometimes happen with just too much carbohydrate. In a calorie deficit, I don't think you're going to feel it that much. So it's a really good idea just to experiment a little. But in our next episode, we're going to turn to carbs, which I know Adam and I are pretty unified on how to apply this, but you still have a lot of choice here. So stay tuned for that one, and we'll see you next time in Contest Prep U.